morning, Nigeria. It is The Agenda, that show that refuses to sugarcoat our reality. I'm Chike Ubogu, and I'm coming to you live from the Dominion Brokers House, Iyagoku, Ibadan, the capital of Oyo State. Today, we're talking about the one disease killing our democracy, and it's killing it faster than any other. And that is money over competence as we head into the 2027 general election. The same old question stares us in the face. Why do we keep choosing the richest candidate instead of the most capable one? Well, in the studio this morning with me is a man who has spent almost the last 2 decades dissecting our economy and our politics. An economist and public affairs analyst, Ignatius Ofino. It's good to have you on the agenda this morning.
Good morning, Mazi Chike Ubogu.
I love your new coat.
Thank you very much.
You look younger.
Definitely, I'm a young person.
Oh, young?
Yeah, there was one time in Nigeria, the leader of the youth for PDP was 60 years old, and he said he was still young.
Even the NAS president, National Association of Nigerian Students,
Yes.
at some point was over 60. I said,
I'm still young.
okay. Well, let's dive in, Ofino. I want you to paint a picture for us, for the ordinary Nigerian watching us, from the one-room apartment in Bodija, or even a village in Okeogun. Why has money completely swallowed competence in our politics?
Thank you very much, Mazi. When we talk about money, money means a means of exchange. But there is one thing you must also understand. Abraham Lincoln asserted that no man is good enough to govern another without the consent of others. Abraham Lincoln asserted that no man is good enough to govern another without the consent of others. And he went further to explain that individuals surrender their sovereignty for them to be governed by another. So when we are talking about money politics in Nigeria, there is one thing you must understand. How did we get it wrong? Abraham Lincoln again asserted that you can fool some of the people all of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all of the time. So when we are talking about money politics in Nigeria, I think it has been part of our political system in this country. But it became overblown in 2011.
2011?
2011!
Okay, what happened?
When money was being exchanged during the presidential primaries too. We saw it there. We saw it there because when you look at most of the political parties in Nigeria today, I call them the capitalist party. Because when you look at the political gladiators, they are capitalists. So they see politics as an investment. And there is always what we call returns on investment. And the people themselves became gullible. The people, the downtrodden. So there was one time the Oshokomole himself, Peter Fayose, the former governor of Ekiti State. You know what he said? Stomach infrastructure. That acronym alone is deep. The stomach infrastructure. So for now, the average Nigerian voters want to satisfy his stomach. So he is more interested in who gives him money before and during election. So there is a problem on ground. So a serious problem on ground. Poverty has been weaponized in Nigeria. So So it's one of the big problems we are even having in this part of the world.
So before we talk about competence, the rate at which political parties, politicians spend so much money to execute elections in Nigeria, is it not showing us that very soon there will be an inflation in our electoral process?
You have 100% correct with your observation and submission. We all got it wrong. You blame the people more and not the capitalists.
Okay.
The capitalists are only few.
Is it because these political parties were only formed from the top? Normally, political parties are supposed to be formed from the grassroots. It's supposed to be the people's political party. But today, the capitalists, as you colorate it, are the ones who form these political parties. Hence, they attach any figure they want. They are the bourgeois. They are the ones who call the shots.
Thank you very much. It's just like when you want to establish your school. You have that idea. It's a vision. There's nothing wrong if the masses themselves congregate together. That the time has come for us to float a national party based on socialism. And we now go ahead to register it before INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. There is nothing wrong about it. And I keep saying it over and over again. Freedom is a choice. Bondage and servitude is also a choice. Have the masses themselves have they decided that we want to be free from the siege of the oppressive government? So it's a matter of choice. So you don't blame the capitalist party. They decided to organize themselves, and they feel that the only way to take hold of power in Nigeria today, take over power, is through what? Election. By registering a political party, and that is what they have done.
Okay, so here's an example of a young man who is a first-class graduate in public administration. He contested for House of Assembly in 2023. He had ideas. He had the vision. He had the integrity. But he lost to a man who couldn't speak coherent English. But the man arrived with 2 bullion vans. The people who voted knew the difference, but the money spoke louder. And that story repeats in every state. Is this not weaponizing poverty, Ofino? And let's break it down. How did we get there?
It's so sad and unfortunate. The masses have to redefine themselves again, their mindset. I remember in Oyo State, there was one thing that happened in Oyo State. Money exchanged hands during the days of the late former governor of Oyo State, His Excellency, Dr. Christopher Adebayo Alawo Akala Aremu Iko Omolokmesin. I remember then, Oyo State wanted a change in 2011. Money was distributed. The people collected the money and still voted against him for a second-term bid. If politicians want to distribute money, fine, there is no problem about that. But the people know what they want. The people, are they reasonable enough? Now, EFCC is there. ICPC is there to arrest anyone sharing money before and during election.
All of them have CCCs.
There.
How many of them see?
Probably they have, their eyes are open, but they refuse to do the needful.
Okay.
Probably they compromise. But for now, what we are saying is this. Politicians may give you money. You have every right to say, I reject this money. I'm not interested. Based on moral principle or your own personal philosophy. And again, you can decide to collect that money and also vote them out of power. That was what they did to Akala.
Why share the money at first?
I wouldn't know. It's the system. It's the system. The system called for it. Because now there is what we call stomach infrastructure. Vote buying. Edibo, Esebe. So it's not becoming part of our political system.
So the concept of Edibo
SAB.
is the concept of cast your vote, take this money and go home and prepare some soup.
Yes.
That's just the concept.
Yes.
That's hunger.
Hunger in Nigeria today is a weapon.
Weapon.
But for those who are reasonable, if they give you 5,000 naira, 5,000 naira cannot sustain you for a whole day. But if you are reasonable, you collect the money and vote against them. I'm just trying to tell you, so that when the politicians know that the people will collect the money from them and also vote against them, next time they will not behave that way.
But what of this concept of a money bag who is also lettered and coming to use his money to win elections? Does it mean that all lettered people are competent, or not all lettered people are competent? Which one?
There is one thing you must understand. That is what we call the conspiracy of the elite against the Nigerian state. Political elite in this country, how many of them are patriots who are willing to develop Nigeria, who are willing to introduce what we call welfare policy to the downtrodden in Nigeria? So there is a big problem. The lettered people are people that are educated. But there's one thing I've discovered in this country. How many of them actually love Nigeria? How many of them actually love Nigerians? So it's the fundamental question. There is one thing William Shakespeare wrote in one of his literary works. And what did he say? He said, there are two forces that govern the world. The forces of good and the forces of evil. Each trying to oppose the other. What is he trying to explain? The forces of good has interest in your life and destiny. The forces of evil also have interest in your life and destiny. The same thing also applies in politics. We are having those who are good politicians. We are also having bad politicians. But those who will decide who and who should govern them, they are the electorate. The poor masses who have been complaining over years that they have been oppressed. Is that not illogical? You are still voting someone who is oppressing you. Are you being rational in your decision? So the masses, you blame the masses more. We have seen among the masses too, those who want to actually govern this country. They have the right vision. But because the cost of acquiring the express of interest form is very costly, and the cost of buying the nomination form is very costly, technically, they are being sidelined. So there is a big problem on ground. That is why I said it's not necessary you contest under the capitalist party. When you are talking about the People's Democratic Party, it's a capitalist party. When you are talking about the All Progressive Congress, APC, it's a capitalist party. When you are talking about NNPP, New Nigerian People's Party, it's also a capitalist party. When you are talking about the African Democratic Congress, it's a capitalist party. So the people that are actually complaining, the poor masses, they should float their own party based on socialist ideal and welfareism.
Now, what you're saying now, it shows that competence would have prepared us as a people for the pain ahead. If we had competent leaders, yes, we would have fixed the system. Yes, it comes with sacrifice. However, what we get is ego better, ego better, ego better. By these same people, that slogan, ego better, funded by the same people who caused the problem. Now, is there any end in sight to this malady?
The answer to it is very elusive. Elusive. You know, there is one thing I've discovered about Nigerians. I don't want to use a derogatory statement. I'm just being careful when I'm on air. Does it not sound illogical and irrational for someone that is being oppressed to keep voting his oppressor into power? Nigerians are becoming gullible when it comes to the issue of general election.
Is it a jinx?
I wouldn't know. Sometimes I become surprised. You vote your oppressor into power. That is why they take us for granted. If the politicians know that they are going to be voted out of power in the next general election, they will not be misbehave. In this country, we have heard that elections are being rigged. If INEC knows that if any election is being manipulated, that the people will revolt, INEC dare not manipulate the election. If politicians know that there is going to be revolution, if the election is being rigged, or if the people's mandate is being stolen, politicians will dare not rig the election. But they know that Nigeria today, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing. That Nigerians are gullible. They know what Nigerians can do, and they know what Nigerians cannot do. One, they know that Nigerians are fearful, that the Nigerians will never revolt. Are you not surprised? 135 billion naira was set aside as INEC budget for litigation. For litigation. What stops INEC conducting free, fair and credible election? INEC is requesting 135 billion naira for court litigation in case there is going to be litigation. That shows that INEC is even preemptive. That the election may not be free and fair. So the INEC boss has a case to answer on a moral ground.
Well, you're talking about the electoral umpire.
Yes.
Now, let us talk about the vehicle that drives the politician to the ballot, and that is the political party.
Yes.
So, we just got wind of some news that the ruling party, All Progressives Congress, the APC, have fixed a timetable for the general elections, especially when it comes for the primaries. And now, while fixing the timetable, we have expression of interest and nomination. Now, the expression of interest form and the nomination form for the presidency, a combined fee, 70-30, 30 million, 70 million. That the combined fee is 100 million for you to obtain a form if you want to be a presidential candidate. If you want to be a governor, 50 million naira. Let's be specific here with the currency. 100 million naira, 50 million naira for governor, 100 million naira for the president. And then for the National Assembly, we have this other one, which is the National Assembly Senate. I think the Senate is about 20 million. And then from the records we have here, the Senate is about 20 million. And the House of Representatives, 10 million. Yes. And then House of Assembly is 6 million in total. 6 million naira, all in naira. And now the question is, in 2023, we had the same figure, 100 million. And now we're having this same figure here in 2020, ahead of the 2027 elections. It's not overbloated, considering our economy at the moment. And then, seeing an electoral inflation. Even the common man who feels he can change the system, those that have been declaring their interests in running for one office or the other. Let's even look at the minutest. Let's come to the list, which is the House of Assembly, 6 million naira. We have many youths. We even have broadcasters that want to vie for a seat in the Oyo State House of Assembly, as it were. Will they be able to afford the 6 million? And even if they can afford it, most of them have godfathers who will fund them. And then when a godfather funds you, be sure that you'll be having ROI, returns on investment.
Yes.
So, what is going on with our electoral process, especially when it comes to monetization?
Dante, a 12th century philosopher, asserted that the hottest part in hell should be reserved for those who, in time of moral crisis, preserve their neutrality. It's rather sad and unfortunate that the Nigerian currency is being abused by politicians. That amount is so outrageous and ridiculous. 100 million naira, 50 million naira 20 million naira, 10 million naira, 6 million naira. Do you know that if you execute a project of 100 million naira in a local government, that project will be visible for everyone to see? Now, you are paying 100 million naira just because you want to contest for president under a political party. It's outrageous. There is what we call spending limit. Political parties should be checkmated. It does not sound well when you are saying 100 million naira. To me, it's like you are saying $100 million for the United States presidency. Who made us this way? I don't understand. Politics simply means what? The scramble for power and who controls the resources of the people. But when you are talking about political governance, it's about what? Service delivery to the people. So EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, has a role to play to investigate who purchases those funds in order to know where did you get this money from. There must be forensic investigation. The ICPC is also there to investigate any of the aspirants who goes ahead to pay. There is what we call declaration of assets. How many of them actually declare their assets? That is why you see what we call high-level corruption in Nigeria today. The cost of governance in Nigeria is so high. We are trying to look for a way whereby the cost of governance will be reduced. What stopped the political party? Do you know there was one time the national chairman of political party we have been accused of corruption? They say the money you pay is being used to do what? To run the party affairs, probably for campaign. But there is one thing I discovered, that most of these political parties, they always organize what we call fundraising. Okay. During the days of Chief Awolowo, the late sage, party members contributed for the development of their party. The contributions start from the grassroots. But here now what we discover in recent time is this: political merchants hijack the party. So at the end of the day, someone with the highest bidder will now be given the party ticket. Even party members can't even afford to contribute because they are also hungry. Definitely. They need more to themselves. But they say, well, you can be able to do it. How? They say party registration is free. Fine. But there is what we call party contribution. If you are joining a cooperative, you have to pay your own what we call annual dues and contribution. A cooperative is different from a political party. Why is it that Awolowo also introduced the same? They introduced the same. Party members made their own contribution to the party. Now you use so that you become what one of the stakeholders in that party. You use an ideology in Nigeria where you are XYZ party in the morning and ABC party in the evening. How do you become a stakeholder? You mentioned Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Jeremiah Obafemi Awolowo. Yes. This was when political parties had ideologies. Today, how many political parties have ideologies? Even in the APC today, majority of the people in the APC were from the PDP. So, if you say, oh, many of them should have contributions to be stakeholders in a party that is uncertain to them, that they could be there in the morning and in the afternoon they are out. They're in another political party. So, looking at this, I have so many issues with the issue of party nomination. And there is one issue that is very fundamental that I must say on this platform this morning. Using state funds to sponsor political party candidate is what? Fraud! Governors are using state funds to sponsor candidates. Those funds belong to the people. Presidents using state funds to sponsor party candidates, to sponsor their party. That is fraud and corruption. That was why I suggested that party members should do the contribution, should contribute financially to their party, not using state funds. And it has been a problem in Nigeria. That is why today, any ruling party within the state has enough money for campaign because they are using state funds. It's not supposed to be. There's a big problem on ground. And there is one thing I always say again. The qualification of the candidate matters. I have a question to raise. This is a live program. They are watching us all over the world. The fundamental question to ask is this. Is Mr. President, His Excellency, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the Grand Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is he still qualified to contest for 2027 election based on his criminal record as been alleged? Because when you look at the Electoral Act that I know very well, that they said that if you have served a prison, a jail term before, you are disqualified. If you are having dual citizenship, you are qualified. If you are disqualified. If you have a criminal record, you are disqualified. If you are a member of a court, you are disqualified. They are there. So when we are talking about an electoral umpire that is not biased, you must always speak truth to power. So that is why I'm asking again, is Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, still qualified to contest for 2027 general election?
On what premise?
Based on his track record as been alleged. Because it affects me psychologically as a Nigerian. I am a Nigerian by birth, but an American by inclination.
But he can still contest. He has not been found guilty.
But the case is there. Has been alleged. Criminal record.
Okay.
It's a fundamental issue that Nigeria should ask. That their president, is he still qualified to contest based on that criminal record has been alleged? And you remember there's something that's going to happen in US between June and July. We have what called Drug Enforcement Agency in America, DEA,
yeah,
and FBI too. The file is there. And there is a court ruling that latest by June, that file should be published. So there's a problem on ground affecting people like me psychologically. It affects me psychologically. Sometimes I cry.
Why do you
My
cry?
president, I cry. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Ofino, you cry?
Yes, I cried. Because of that criminal record alone. It is a dent to our international reputation and image in the international community.
Well, we'll go on this break. Make sure you get your comments ready on the app X at Dominion Cast. And when I come back from this break, we'll be taking your questions and your comments. Stick around. It's still the agenda. Don't go away.
Need a professional space to bring your vision to life? Dominion Television Studios offers state-of-the-art facilities perfect for your next broadcast, commercial, corporate video, or live event. With flexible rental options, cutting-edge equipment, and a supportive team, we provide the perfect environment for high-quality productions. Unleash your creativity. For bookings, email us at marketing@dominion.org.ng. Call us on 0705 506 1061 or 0916 101 1061. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast and on X at Dominion Casts. Book your space today. Dominion Television, your channel of choice.
All right, welcome back from that break. It's still the agenda. And we're still looking at issues, money over competence in politics. The Nigerian reality ahead of the 2027 general election. That's what we're looking at. I still have in the studio Ignatius Ofino, who is trying to dissect some of these issues. Before we went on that break, he said you've cried. Ofino,
Yes.
you're psychologically disturbed
Yes.
on the alleged status of Mr. President.
Yes, I'm psychologically down as a Nigerian.
But the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, is your friend.
He's my friend. I'm proud of him.
Tell him to step it down.
It is going to be morally difficult for him to step it down. I'll be more happy if that file is being published.
If it's published
Yes.
and Mr. President is not indicted,
Yes,
will you
and
be happy?
I will also be happy if Mr. President is not being indicted.
But if Mr. President is indicted, what happens?
I don't know what to say. I will not know what to say because it will be one of the greatest embarrassment in the history of the black race.
Well, it is time for your comments. There, audience there. Well, Mr. Debayo from Ibadan is saying something here. It says, Chike, in Oyo, we have seen competent technocrats rejected because they have no structure. Is restructuring of our political parties the only way out before 2027? That's the question he's asking.
There is one thing you must understand. If the intellectuals and the intelligent refuse to govern, then the less intelligent will continue to rule over them. So the intellectuals or the intelligent, the competent ones, should organize themselves together. They should congregate and float a political platform. There are ways you can be able to do it. I remember we have what called the student union across universities, polytechnics, monotechnics, colleges of education. They are all intellectuals. But today, it's rather sad and unfortunate that most of them are tilting towards the capitalist ideal. The student union government that I know was founded on the socialist ideal, Marxist ideal. But it's rather sad and unfortunate that the National Association of Nigerian Students today, NANS, they toward the capitalist ideal. They have derailed. NANS was founded on the Marxist ideal, socialism, equal rights. You fight for the right of others, equality. But what are we having today at the level of NANS? We are having what we call capitalist structure because NANS is being hijacked by the capitalist government. So it's a problem on ground. So when we are talking about the intellectuals, they have to congregate, align themselves together, build their own political party, build their own political structure. It's just like the time we were, there was an agitation in Nigeria, not too young to rule. But the average Nigerian youth today is craving for what? Power, wealth, and fame. At all means.
Even the ones who want to even run cannot even spend. That's the irony of the whole matter.
Let me give you an instance. When you are talking about the capitalists in Nigeria, they just represent a small fraction, but very powerful. Because we are playing what we call monopolist democracy. Monopolistic democracy. That is what we are playing in this country.
Okay.
Monopolistic democracy.
Can you break it down?
Democracy by certain few that are very powerful. The capitalists. They have monopolized democracy in Nigeria.
And also monopolize the polity.
Yes, monopolize the polity to their own selfish advantage. And I keep saying it over and over again that greed is the basis of capitalism. Greed.
Well, there's this someone here reacting to the sale of the forms, the figure, and he's saying, for free in Nigeria again. Pay, then get my vote. So, such a person is trying to institutionalize in his mind this issue of the forms, the forms, saying it's too outrageous, the price is too outrageous. And then he says, if you want me to vote, you pay me to vote. What would you tell this young man?
That's a wrong notion.
Yes.
It's a wrong notion. We should not encourage that. When will the poor masses be free? It's a matter of choice. Cyprian Quincy wrote, "The beautiful ones are not yet born." Now in Nigeria today, we want a change. We want a good leader. But at the end of the day, we sacrifice competence on the altar of what? Incompetence. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore transformed Singapore from third world country to a first world country. It was a sacrifice, a huge sacrifice. The so-called masses in Nigeria today, they have been so brainwashed to the extent that they believe in divine providence rather than government's provision.
Okay.
And that is also a problem.
Let's get back to the App X. Miriam from Ibadan is saying, as a woman, I see money politics excluding us completely. My sister has a PhD in economics, but can't even buy the nomination form. How do we fix gender and competence together?
Thank you very much. There is one thing I keep saying. That you are a professor does not make you a good administrator. That you have a PhD does not make you a philosopher. We have people that are charismatic leader, philosopher by birth. But it's also good for you to be educated. You know, the other time he will say that she doesn't have the money to purchase the form. Must it be in the capitalist party? People who want to serve Nigeria today that they don't have money, there's nothing stopping them organizing themselves that for the next election we float our own party.
Is there any political party in Nigeria that is not capitalist inclined?
I've not seen.
So she has no choice but to raise funds.
She can also establish a party. People of like minds. People of like minds. When they align together, we want to salvage the situation. We are going to toe the path of socialism. Leave the capitalists alone. We are going to convince the people that on the issue of socialism, we will ensure that the people are liberated from the siege of oppression. That is how to do it.
Well, let's get to Chukwudi from Bodija. He says, the painful truth, even the voters prefer the rich man. They say, if he is rich already, he won't steal. Is our electorate the real problem or the politicians?
Both.
Okay.
Both. The electorate that keeps voting the corrupt politician into power. Then the politicians themselves who are not being fair to the people, who lie under oath. Politicians lie under oath. And there is no consequence for lying under oath. Let me give you an instance. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, made a bold statement during campaign. You know what he said? He said, if I fail to fix the power sector in the next 4 years, if I ask for a second time, reject me. Do you know what his foot soldiers are saying? That's a political statement. That any politician can say that. If a Senate climb, he has already lost that election. I'm talking about a Senate climb. I was not the one that put it in his mouth. He was the one that said it during campaign. And because of that, some people decided to vote for him. But now, the power sector is not yet fixed. There's a problem on ground. Now, you want to run for a second term. And yet, the people will still vote for him for a second term. Who made us this way?
Well, that's a question, $1 million question that begs for answers. Mrs. Funke from Ido is saying, my husband is a lecturer. He wants to run for Senate in 2027, but the party has already zoned the ticket to the highest bidder. Should competent people just form new political parties?
Definitely.
You just made mention of that.
They must. It's a must. If you want to be liberated.
But how visible? How visible?
The oppressors are not willing to give you freedom.
Okay.
They are not willing to give you freedom.
Will the
freedom is at a price and also at a cost.
Yes, but will the existing political parties, when you form these new parties, the existing political parties, will they allow you be visible enough to the electorate?
Then we now talk about the power of the media. Though when you want to relate with the media, it's at a huge cost. The capitalists can afford to make adverts.
How huge?
It's huge.
Okay.
It's huge.
That's relative.
It's huge. It's huge.
We're in the system, so it's relative. So when you say it's huge, you don't send people away. Let them come
Definitely
and find out whether it's huge or not.
There's what we call corporate social responsibility.
CSR.
Yes, probably the media houses might want to just support. Though the media is supposed to be neutral.
They're supposed to be apolitical.
Yes. The media industry must be neutral.
Yeah.
Journalists must be neutral.
Yeah.
The fourth estate of the realm must be neutral.
Okay.
So when we are talking about people trying to form political parties, there's nothing wrong those who feel that they are competent to rule Nigeria, that let them congregate themselves together, form a new political party. It's not necessary in 2027, but they must ensure that before 2031, a new political party should be flown in this country by competent hands, not people that are greedy. We have people that are also competent, that are also greedy.
All fingers are not
equal.
All right, let's before I get to Tunde from Lagos, there is this message here from OVA John. He says, a farm is sold for 100 million naira and you expect the winner of the election not to steal public funds and recoup his money. It is not life we're living in Nigeria. That is OVA John. And then Afiz Olasukomi is saying, Nigeria citizens, wake up. Don't go out to vote. You don't do that. Don't tell people not to do that. Don't disenfranchise people because some things are going wrong. If things are going wrong, come out and vote. The funniest thing is, many people don't know the implication of voter apathy.
Yes.
If you don't come out to vote, whatever is counted and whatever figure is given to you, you just take it. But please, on election day, go out, cast your vote. The more the merrier. And then monitor what is being counted. Monitor the results of the election. Don't tell people, don't give up. Let us all come out together to build the Nigeria of our dreams. I'm not sermonizing here because Ofino is here. Ofino.
You know, there's one thing, when I look at Nigeria sometimes, I say we don't blame the politician. We blame the Nigerian masses. Those who refuse to cast their vote and those who are voting their oppressors back to power. INEC registered 91 million voters. And at the end of the day, the total vote cast for 2023 election was what? 25 million conservative estimate. Then what happened to 66 million voters? Are you saying that they are all dead? No. Those who refuse to cast their vote. Do you know that politicians determine the political destiny of a country? They determine your political destiny. Was it Ofino that unilaterally removed oil subsidy? No. It was the elected president. Was it Ofino that unified the Nigerian currency? No. It was the elected president. So they are now asking you that they want you to be part of the decision making. As a voter, you are now saying that no, you are not interested. You are not being patriotic. You must be part and parcel of the system. When it comes to issue of election, you have to decide who and who should govern you. There is no excuse to give. Do you know the president can decide today, I want to introduce free education. It's for the benefit of all. The president can also decide to say, today, what I want to do is this. No exit, no entry. That is the government policy. It will affect you and I as citizens. But now, when you and I decide to stay back, we now complain, this government is bad, this government is bad. Ask yourself, as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, have you ever for once exercised your civic franchise by casting your vote?
Tunde from Lagos saying, data from budget shows 70% of 2023 National Assembly members have zero legislative impact. Yet, they are coming back with bigger war chests. How do we stop recycling failure?
The political party should be held responsible. Because there is one thing they used to say that garbage in, garbage out. That it is the candidate that the political parties float. Among them, the electorate will now decide who and who they will vote for. Because the government must not be in vacuum. But there is one thing you must also understand. Between two evils, you go for the lesser evil. Although evil is not good. Between two evils, you go for the lesser evil. although evil is not good. So that is why you also have to blame the electorate themselves. When the competent among us refuse to run election, they are complaining that their denomination form is too costly. Must it be APC? Must it be PDP? Must it be ADC? Must it be NNPP? I'm not trying to discredit them because they are all capitalist parties. But I'm just saying that those who have the right vision, the time has come for them to float a movement in Nigeria. That is the way you can be able to float an association. Float it as a movement. That movement will now transform to a political party. That is how party structure is being built. Most of these party structure, they start as a movement, association. From there, they will now metamorphosize into a political party. That's the way to do it. Like now, those of us who are public affairs analysts who want a change in this country, there is nothing wrong if we decide to congregate together. But among us too, we have some of us who are capitalists. They are just using the public affairs platform so that they can be more popular. So that the government can be able to lobby with them. At the end of the day, they will now betray the cause again. That is why my heart bleeds when I see public affairs analysts betraying a common cause, betraying the masses. Because we are here to fight for the right of the masses. We are not attacking government, because there is one thing I keep telling people. Constructive criticism is not the same thing as destructive criticism. When you are engaging the government in constructive criticism, you are trying to tell the government that the policy you introduced, is affecting the people negatively. And this is the reason why it is affecting the people. This is the alternative policy. But when you are talking about destructive criticism, you will be attacking personality. You will not be attacking the government. You don't see anything good about the government. And it's not allowed as a public affairs analyst. You must be a constructive critic, not a destructive one. Because not all government policies are bad. It may work in country A and fail to work in your own country, country B. Then you now ask the question, why did it fail in my country? So we must engage the government in constructive criticism, not attacking personality as a public affairs analyst.
All right, because of our time, there's some comments here. Zainab from Hussein saying, in the north, money politics is fueling banditry. Politicians arm youths during elections and abandon them after. Competence would have created jobs instead of guns. Let me go straight to Victor here from Challenge. Victor says, as an oil worker, I ask, why do we vote for people who cannot even read a budget? Our refineries are still not working after 25 years of money politics. And Grace Adebare is saying, youths are 60% of voters, but we sell our future for 2,000 naira. How do we break this cycle before 2027?
It's so sad and unfortunate. Most political parties, they have party talks. And all these party talks, they are children of the poor. Is there anything wrong for a talk to be elected governor? No, I'm just trying to ask the fundamental question. So we have to work on the psychology of the children of the poor. When you are talking about the Amajiri in the north, they are children of the poor, not the elite, not the northern oligarchies. So I said the problem of the poor is the poor themselves. The children of the poor are being recruited as political thugs, and they are happy, standing behind the capitalists who made them poor. So we have to find a way. How do we reorientate the mindset of the children of the poor? It's a huge problem. Because when you look at most of these politicians today, those who are actually protecting them, those thugs, they are all children of the poor. You can never see the child of a rich protecting a rich man. It's not possible.
Well, because of our time, Ignatius Ofino, we want to set the agenda now. And setting the agenda, I want you to give us practical and non-emotional steps before 2027. Let's set the agenda for today's topic.
The agenda for today's topic is this. Let us put a stop to money politics. Money politics is an injustice to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Money politics is a fraud. What we want in this country is true democracy, not money-bagged politicians, people who love Nigeria, people who love Nigerians as well. We must rise to that occasion and ensure that free, fair, and credible election holds in 2027.
We have just 1 hour, but the conversation must continue in every market. It must continue on every WhatsApp group. It must continue on every family meeting. Competence must defeat cash in 2027, or we are doomed to another cycle of regret. Thank you, Ignatius Ofinu, for featuring this morning.
Thank you, Mazi Chike, for having me.
Thank you, dear Nigerian, and thank you for staying with us on the agenda. I am Chike Ubogu saying, have a great day.